Da re ra le she nyen de jen ba de san ye shin de e ba ye de ge nan da shin ma che ba ra shu yi da ge re re ne me ne ma chua de chua.
Yep. What is it about the state of Buddhahood that means it doesn't disintegrate? Buddha's ethics don't degenerate. Why? The state of Buddhahood. So, what the Sangye Gopang Karichini di Jigpamare?
가르치고 말 맞다.
No, Sangye Gopang. Sangye Gopang Church and Jigpamayente? Mitakpamayente?
알레 알레 야 아니
And Shemba di Sangye Sutram Madrogi Mara Karichini.
알레 산제 미다와 임바다 마임바 니여라. 산제기 셈다 산제지 르드즈 미다고래 주어두고 라 주어두고 다 산제 주지 꼭된다 동반이다 도즈 주어두고요 말에서 당보들
Gogdintan Tongpani. So when you talk about the Buddha, you know, he has impermanent aspects and not impermanent aspects, right? So the Buddha's body and mind, they are impermanent. They're always changing. But the truth of cessation for the Buddha and emptiness of the Buddha, that doesn't change.
다디 산제지 르단 셈드서 깨지게 주어줘야게 주진데 제데베 야구장냐로 주진 야구장장 선자 가도이나 주어디 야구장장 도되게요 그래서 이나고 먼저다 지 교양직단 지 전에 레고요 말다 교양 상만 매우스 차로 주어디 야구장장 도걸라나.
Right. So although the Buddha's mind is changing, it's changing completely under pure conditions, right? All the faults or negative aspects have been completely abandoned. So it's only positive causes and conditions that cause it to change.
다 대단 저 단대디 산제 수림라야 돼 다로 수림라야 돼다 오가로 배 트레이닝 체제다 배 나졸롭정 정다 체제 아니 다배 정다 탈침 바 인상 아니 수림지다 수림이나래 닝제나래 제와이나래 쇠바이나도 냐면요 말다 가도이나 왜데 가서래 말은저다 배데 professional 쉬우지를 다 간다. 이게 좀나 beyond the professional에 다고.
When you talk about the Buddha's ethics and other qualities, why don't they degenerate? Well, it's because he's perfected, or that being has perfected those qualities, like completely, like fully trained in ethics, compassion, loving kindness, all of these things, to the point where it's reached such a state of understanding, there's no way for them to ever degenerate or go down. Right? It's like the most master super chef or something that could never make a mistake, right? Like something like that.
그러나 삼로 때가 근데 삼당과에 간주이나 자식고 꾸는체 똑바도와 산지줄라 근데 똑바 코나 요마라 똑바데 요마라다 매베 인자 안에 장마 쉬어져다 배 창말로 배 가득 장마 쉬어차대라.
So our minds are kind of mixed with all this kind of conceptual carry on and things like that. But this Buddha has gone completely beyond all conceptuality. So because of that, his mind is completely clean or clear. Okay, so second is thinking about the subtle impermanence and our mind streams and life to life migration. How is the ultra subtle essence of mind carried on the breath? That transmigrates life to life, impermanent and yet still able to hold karmic influence causes that affect the future lives. So, the mitapa trama di sem trama di ro kewa chigne chig drogire. yang di ugtang namdodro ne
알레야.
long namdodro
알레.
odi ug song di non long namdodro and di mitakbe yen yang di legi bakchak dila negire kani karichini kandi di negire
다 데데로 레당 안저 어디서다 삼로 야고당로 하서는 안저 다 제와디 안저 미디 주버도데 미디 시도데 미 수부데 마 도면도 수부 메다제 고당들어 수부 메다제 메다제 수부데 데데도 다 주버디 저치말라다 미다고 안저 난다 마란저 메제나 미다고 치셔도 미시도야 되다 미다고 게제셔도 미시도야 되는데 딜가 요머 수치기라 디 수치기 마시워서 요머 수치기 조단 하고 말해 디기 거딩기로 디피 거딩 쳔버스 디메나
다른 질문
디피야 고레스 미시야 요데 디메나 단다 도나 탐다오다 모브즈 딩드로브즈 히들라스 잠블링 메서스 잠블링 톨라당서스 단다 강강강점 단다 시야 되게 콘도 매우 차르면서 저기 미도 누가 되게 강을 가질 때도 잠블링 미 가질 세 히스토리 따들어 다 콘도 미다고 되게니 딱다 세어면서 저기다 잠블링 단당 안 좋게 지시 대매서 서스 되게
So, when we talk about this impermanence, so first of all, like, when we die, obviously our body stays. But it's important to understand that this death is like the final impermanence, right? And it's like, it's a very kind of wonderful, it's kind of quite a fortunate or wonderful thing, Especially if there's beings that do
final
it.
in this level our 시한테 콘서 진짜고 시야디 메지데기 미다고 타마들었다. 메지데
Oh, sorry. Okay, for this human life, it's the final impermanence. Just to clarify that. For this human life, death is the final impermanence. So, this is very fortunate, especially because there's beings there like Mao Zedong and Hitler and Donald Trump also as well, maybe, who do a lot of harm to the world, right? But no matter how powerful or whatever, nobody has been able to beat death, right? Like everybody from, all the historical figures, no matter how famous or rich or powerful or whatever they became, they all had to die. So this is, for this life, the final impermanence. So this is very awesome and quite fortunate, right? It's the great equalizer.
미디 직접 가보시는 심대 제우 말에 미다고 열어서.
So if somebody does something really wrong or bad, don't worry because they're also impermanent.
다 말해야지 먼저 수부 도구면도 삼당하다 그러네. 수부대 도구 말에 다 쉐버락바도 저 도구 말에 간다로. 쉐버락바도 저 가도 그래. 다던데 쉐버 참모디 겨치말로 도구였다. 딱다래. 윤지로. 겨마 도녀디 쉐버 참모들에 쉐버 참모도 도구 그래서. 남시 참모디 겨치마도 스코어 잡는 도구요 그래서.
Yeah, so like as we said, the body doesn't go from life to life, right? What does go from life to life is this mind, this subtle mind. That's what goes from life to life. The body just stays here when you die.
다딜라 바자딜라 다 낭바 산제베 둡달레 두주데 되면라요 다 타도 엄마 텐지베 둡잖아 바자 케니에딜라 니여레스로 내갑기 바자 지다 타도기 바자 케니니 내갑디 먼저 남시익딩라 샤죠 남시익딩 이기 남시라고 봐도 그래 이 남시라고 먼저 두고 이 남시라고 봐도 딜라 내가게 바자도 먼저 미기지시도 가야다 또 샤죠라 다 타두기 바자데네 나요라 나 간상 권하기 치료고 뭐 된유웨이나
So when we talk about the imprints, then this is according to the Majjhimika Prasangika view, right? The final kind of different tenet systems have slightly different beliefs, but according to Majjhimika Prasangika, there's two types of imprint. There's the temporary imprints, and then there's like the Tatu, there's like final imprints. So the temporary imprints are in the sixth consciousness, the mental consciousness, but at the gross level, right? And then the final imprints, they stay at the eye, on the eye or the person, according to the Prosangi.
맞지, 데레샤. 다심 참모게 바자셔야 되다베 가고 다베데 남냠네 특보 유드메시지 기토고 말아.
So how it's stored is like it's very difficult to understand. You have to be a really advanced practitioner to be able to see this or understand this. Yeah. There are other different disciples in different lineages. Seems like they are different names. The Gedra Kongara, also the Ming Dramandra Yure, the website, the Dramandra, Ming Dramandra Yure, the Karichini di Dramandra Yure.
The translator is a cat. Kaje Tambudi Tadam, New de Tadam, did it? The translator is change your message.
Yeah, so it's like there's five, they're the same five people, but it's just maybe different translators, and one person made one mistake and then that got carried on. Any Lungpa Dramandra Chikchina Mingjum.
The Lumba Yonchora, Lumba, and Lumba Chawa Yongora.
And then there might be different names according to the different countries and different languages. Like the Tibetan and Sanskrit are different names, but the Konga Chikpore.
Meeting Archibore.
But there's the other, they're still the same five disciples.
Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't my question, the last one before, but I wonder whether one thing was not answered, and it's how the mind rides on the subtle breath from one life to another life, I think was the...
When you say breath, you mean wind, or you mean subtle wind? Yeah. So the Semdang Long Namdu Kandidro. Oh, sorry. How this bit of the mind and the wind, how they go together. How does that work? Right, the mind, the subtle mind, and the subtle wind. So from one life to the next. So long Sem Tramatang Long Trama Se Chigta Se Jama Kandidro.
No, did it. Tanda on sim long sa long ding on the bed chilo Junga Shinang long jidwa with chi Junga shi Tinde Mares long de. Tinde Nashi be long rakba de mar long de lata rakba tam long tamore long tamo. The dig Haralausana long tini kareva, long tini karesana, Yangshi yor, right? Long tini de karesana, Yangshi yo. Chesang on the basic to the shingo, the long dance, shoot down, so the shingo, chesang. And a long tini Yangshi yore. In the same time, the yoe charger, your dodge, bra. Pazu your dodge, you are the long tongue, neve chadilla, seve chadilla sims, ngojil, the what are they? Yowe chadela longdang, neve chadela, seve session rigbas nare, neve cha.
Okay.
Delaya, ne sims chajala, dogatader.
Okay. So, first of all, when we talk about the subtle wind, it's not like the elements, the element of wind, or it's not gross like that. It's very, very subtle. But if we look at the definition of the wind, its definition is light, that which is light and moving. So if we look at the subtle mind and the subtle wind, well, the mind, subtle mind has the ability to move, right? Like it moves around. So that is the quality of the wind aspect. And then the clear and knowing aspect of it, that's the quality of the mind, because the mind is clear and knowing. But what you have to understand is that we say in Tibetan, Noa Chik Dokpatari, which is literally one nature, but different designations. Essentially what that means is they're not two things. It's one thing, but you're looking at it from different angles, right? So various functions or maybe aspects. Chile is like function, or sometimes it's translated as aspect. So yeah, but one essence or one.
The lung de toya yamare. Ya kola color lungdel toya. Dandang on the chilo lung de toya yarwa. Kagdo lung de tulo dan de lung kagdo. The lung de dinde kaya yamare toya yamare. Ina kola de 카도요. color.
So this wind, it doesn't impede, right? It doesn't block. I guess you could say it doesn't have physical resistance. In the same way, like normal wind has physical resistance. You can feel it blowing on you, it's cold and so forth. The subtle wind doesn't have that, but what it does have is colors. Right? It does have this aspect of color.
제가다디 낭배게 흉나라 속들라 니 참모 타라 숨샤요라. 속 참모르데 속 참모.
Long
속으로. 속 참모래 속 참모.
So in Buddhism, there's 3 types of form. There's gross, subtle, and then like you'd say most subtle or extremely subtle. And this wind is the extremely subtle form. That the wind that goes with the mind.
Subtle man together wind law. Then shinda to it.
No, that's it. Any other questions?
Yeah.
How does it feel like the subtle wind? Can we feel it?
So how does the subtle wind feel like? What does the subtle wind feel like? Lung tramo di nyongwa kandida.
Yo tanda nganzo ina tanda nganzo nihu de resra. Da gomja. Nganzo tanda nganzo system 또 미기 통해다 암저 거야도 상와 남시라고 되게 파가 아니 다 디조 믹스에게 냠렌다 나가 냠렌 ngazo 디나 가서 그래 낭바이나 오늘 바락바데 더 낭바 쳐이나 나 냠렌 체네 아니 자곰 자게 아니 자게 나게 아니 자롱곰 디나네 자 롱제나나 디네 아니 신디 다 심참모데 레가 고요인데 아니 신디 냠뇽 디두용 그래서 냠뇽 디두미시
long pama
자 숨세저로 자 오마로마 장마사시 자 오메나라 롱슈 디 롱슈보자 말에네 자 yen담니네 말롱가 니게 카두델 롱레 디 롱레네 딜라 아니 신디 심참모데 니후데 단당하죠 디야 니세베서로 차베 내가 딜라 아니 신디 롱타모당 심참모 냠뇽 데다 experience to do 용거래서 데다 ngazo 낭백이 흉내 셰다데레서.
So when we talk about the experience of the subtle wind, like at the moment our mind, the subtle mind, the subtle wind, we say like the subtle mind is asleep, right? We're dealing with very gross aspects of the mind at the moment. But when you talk about the subtle mind, the subtle wind, this is in reference to the Buddhist Tantra, this secret mantra of Tantra. So from the point of experience in the stage where you have like your 3 main channels, right? So all the mind absorbed, wind and mind absorbed into these 3 channels, and then it goes from the outer ones into the central one, and then even then you bring the up and down till everything abides in just the center of the central channel. And at that point, when you have that experience, then the subtle mind, which is asleep, at that point it actually wakes up and then you can experience it. But this is like not for ordinary people. It's very advanced meditation.
That's good. Finish that too, huh?
Nope, that's it.
Oh yeah. 다 당은 좀 미다고 참으로 미다고 참어디 다 당에 세우나시 뉴제체는 미다고 세거도 사제 탐제 동어와 최탐제 동시다 양엘레 대비 시워스 다 남고산제베 뉴제게 최탐제 미다고 레스잖아 제기요래 어디 다 미다고 참으로 거거다 라운드베 튜니어라 미다와 계직 참어 미다와 뉴제 탐제 미다와 아세트.
Okay, so when we talk about this impermanence again, and we get into the very subtle kind of impermanence, then it comes down to this, what the Buddha said, where it says all compounded phenomena are impermanent. So this compositional things are impermanent. This is the most subtle kind of impermanence.
다 미다와 딜라 계직마 신이 가르스나 계직마 미다와 신이래 계직마.
So when we look at the definition of impermanence, it's that which is momentarily changing.
And then
you have gross and subtle impermanence.
다라고 당긴 가서 다라쇼게 곰잡지 세르다 도정 가서 녀에 타는 무슨게 신제당 매바야당 되네 커버 차도에당 다도 참미 무슨 통구도 하고 유기 매우 차도다 미시도야당 강바직도야당 아니 지도 랑가간도 발라다 주다 포삼다 라베도 시대도 와 도 상마다 미다고 무슨 그 통구도 안 하더라.
So, this, when we talk about it, the gross impermanence, well, we meditated a bit on this morning, but we can see that, like if you burn wood, it disintegrates. Beings die, you see dead animals on the road sometimes, all of these things, right? So this is a gross kind of form of impermanence.
이네디 먼저 통구요래로 와. 이네 먼저 이지 지금 말해. 다 곰자는 가지고 올라서는 통화디 먼저 이지체는 수수 템보속으로. 안다 먼저 통구요래. 이네 다 디지당래 거라요. 다다라 남미 당샤고로. 아니디 먼저 그 셈난 소화제 두고요 말이다.
So, we see it, but, we don't believe it. Even though this gross impermanence, we don't really take it on board. We think, our life's very stable and then, everything's just going to stay the same. But in reality, that's not the case. We see this impermanence all the time, but somehow it's hard for us it doesn't affect us, basically.
먼저 지난주 딱 남림나라 치워 미다고 공부세 시기도 이 미다고 라고 공부들이 네 미다고 참고 공부 말해 미다고 라고 공부들이
So, for those who've studied the Lam Rome, you'd be familiar with the chapter on death and impermanence, right? Now, this is a very gross level of impermanence.
제가 이제 가로 수수 시기요데 하고 다르게 되거든. 수수 시기요데 세버지 하고 이제 땜버질래나 다게 되래. 데 인지미지 미다고 왔다 깨지깨지 요로 데다 데도나다 인다니로 야고로 왔다. 데면은 수수수 땅아 시기요데 수수semla 이제 땜버니제 딱 시기요데 타제 거두 시기요면 하고 말로. 아니 대제도 다 하고 하면도 단다 된다 디산이나니 대 하고 하면도 땅아 단다 빼 그거 야고래셨다 대제는가 다 쳐야고 제거도 담직 야고제 맞에나나네 단다 편제에 매주 대바 상만도 드림나시래셔와 스스추 야고직 지도면도 다 단다 제거도 딜레 다 독스전을 내고라.
So, it's very good if you can understand this death impermanence. If you really have this feeling that you're going to die, then that's, you really take that on board. Obviously, if you can realize subtle impermanence, then, well, of course, no need to mention that, how wonderful that is. But if you can't do that, if you can actually realize that you're going to die, but not only accept that you're going to die, really fully accept you don't know when you're going to die. Because when you have this feeling, then you recognize that, you need to practice, you need to practice Dharma and develop your mind. Because all this other stuff, it's somewhat like a dream, like it's all, you're going to have to let it go, leave it all behind, you could die at any time. And when you really understand that, then, it changes your whole perspective, it changes your focus onto what's truly important.
제가 데다 곰자고로 와. 네 단단한서 나라서 상마로 저런 상마 곰자를 가워요래 최제 가워요래 이내 걸 숙청보면도 누베청보 연구면도 다들 준비 좀 해야 약속다 단데 미다고 라고 고면들 미다고 라고 돼 곰제 이 곰네 수수 셈래 배 이지 템보니 버때 오늘은 리얼리티로 왔다 간다 먼저 신이식으로 그러 마시바도 사요 말에 상마 도르다 그러 다디 두디니 다들 타디가다 낭베게 학과도 태고 챔베 추 나가 냠네 지냐 자 시드 그 타디냐 지고다 시드 이거로 셈디 치와 미다고 집에 치와 추고 받을는 것에 고송 남게 도저 상마 데레다 나가 냠네 도저 상마 시드게다 먼저서나 달 exam exam final exam 딜 타디 preparation 지고다 데레다
So, this understanding death impermanence gives incredible power to, your practices, morality, and so forth. But if you also have this stable belief, it helps a lot with your practice of, Tantra as well, because there's all these aspects of Tantra, all the things that we do, basically is preparing us to go through the death process, right? Like that's the final point of it. Like that's the final exam. You're preparing for this exam, and the final exam is death. And then, you know, hopefully you pass. And if not, well, I don't know. It's not the kind of exam you want to fail, I don't think.
이러 디체니 먼저 타와망고 그 투담 좋은데 투담데 이거다.
Yeah.
The exam the fast chair. 콘스 fast chair.
Yeah, so you see the monks that do this tugdam. Oh god, now I have to explain this. So there's tugdam konso hako.
ngelao pena 당기 심 담으셔 정하다. 심 라고디 제마마 팀. 다심 담모디 ene chanjuk sem다 동반이다 냠렌셰 데데위나 딜라 투담서 거다. 심 라고디 제데 찾아마 팀라. 다 시르드 간저 라고디 제 찾아 팀 용거로. 다 시르드 심 담모디 되는 데네가라네. 코로나도 곰자고 말해 그 시르드네 곰심 담모디 란주고 되는 거라. 란주고 야 세부 차양 거라. 다디 냠렌셰 심 담모디 동니도야 chanjuk sem게야 람게야 하긴 오게야 디체베 내가로 두는 대화서 거다.
Okay, so just to explain this tugdam, there's no real English word for this that seems to fit, but it's using the death process as a meditation, essentially, right? So what happens is, for everybody, when you die, your mind goes from more gross into the very subtle mind. Now, for an ordinary being, that subtle mind then leaves the body and goes off. But for a practitioner, they're actually able to stay in that subtle mind and do practice. And whatever practice they might do, deity meditation, bodhicitta, whatever meditation they do. There's in this very subtle mind, they can use it as part of their practice. So rather than rather than the mind going to the next rebirth, they're able to stay there for however much time to do this practice.
제가 안 가시에 님었음 가시에 님만 유슈 기생 태면 타워지 님만 유슈 잡제 대성하러
28.
어디래요?
So, you know, sometimes they might stay for 3 days in the state, 21 days. There was a monk in Taiwan who just stayed for 28 days in the state. Tibetan Geshe.
Did it? That the final exam does some pass church,
So they all passed their final exam. Yeah, so now we better get studying really.
That the demo to no pass church mare. Jana nyamle some pass church mare. To them she to them demo to no pass church mare.
So yeah, if it comes the time of death, then you don't sort out tugdam at that stage, then you failed your exam.
And also some lay person last month, my friend, he live in Tibet. Before he came to in India, we are same. I think we lived together 3 years. We are my very close friend. Today we have connection. He go back in Tibet. And last month, his father passed away. And father passed away. They had no idea. And he showed me this his father's photo. And I told, be careful, looks your father to them, you know, because they wanted 2-3 days after give in Tibetan now in Tibetan people that they give the birth, you know, color the chagul.
Like sky burial.
Yeah,
sky burial. Where they cut the body up and feed it to the vultures.
They already have planned 3 days after father body give there. And then and he said, and what he don't know, he said, I don't know, and you can check. And I give this, or you know, body don't have smell and not the blood. Men things body exactly similar our life body, you know, usually body very strong, you know. And very flexible, and sometimes live here, heat, you know, heat here, heat. And mainly there's summer, you know, in Tibet last month, summer, very hot in Lhasa, and no smell, you know, no smell.
Yeah, so there's no smell, and no smell. This rigor mortis doesn't see.
And the body no changing, you know, usually body easy to become changing, you know, and the body become more fresh. And he said, exactly, you know, I give explanation. And then he invited another Geshe model, and they said, that looks to them. And we wait 3 days, and 4 days, 5 days, 8 days. This father did 8 days. 8 days he did to them. Then 8 days after blood comes, the body is small, shadow amount go out the body, then body become similar stick. This father pass pass exam. 당시 미망고지 데 계제 될 미다고 시야 될 계제 신도 지금도 시기도 알아. 바여고라 미망고지 하고서
Shigidu look scared.
시고라. 이게 시야게 계제 권이 되고요 말에 tobi코나 미다고다 시와게 권이 되고요 말에 딜라 여고요 바다고 벼도고요. 미망고진 대로.
So many people don't like kind of scared or averse to this impermanence. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to talk about this death impermanence and this type of thing. Right? That type of thinking is not really that helpful.
네 벌써요 말에. 벌써요 말에 걸리기라 상물로라.
Right. So there's nowhere to run and hide from this. It's coming, right? You have to accept.
딜레콜 다딕제션이라.
Yeah. So better that it's coming. Better you prepare for it.
제장한테 다 다딕시고라. 다 디고.
So it's better we accept it and prepare for it than just pretend it's like not going to happen.
다 다딕시단들라. 다딕시단들라. 다딕 타마, 다딕 랍, 다딕 딘데요라. 다 다딕 타마디 다 신다베 냠렌체네 당원에 스스 내 곰잡 타와드즈나시 인데 데트 나데 다 제대로와.
That's all.
제대로. 디다다 역시 들어와다.
So, when we say for this preparation is the best, medium, and still okay, right? 3. So the best one is like that, able to do this tukdam meditation. So that's the best. That's the best preparation.
다디네 마진 타마들랑 알아서 딘데시마도 나나. 다 드링 미하고 시에너와. 드링 미하고 지서 내가 당보 밀라 펜도요 약부치세. 아니 그동안 건다 다 드링 안 할래가 약부 중성 직행해도 왕죠. 다 시글라버들 당아 메제딜라다 마라 약부 중성다. 테스트 강내 중성나 약부 중성다. 딕송세 주나? 다 디디고.
So then the second one is maybe people kind of like us who try and just live a good life and meditate, try and be a good person, practice compassion. At the end of the day, if we check our actions and see, what was good, what was not so good, and work with that and try and develop ourselves, then at the time of death, you can feel like okay with it. Okay, I lived a good life, not worried. Okay, I wasn't perfect, but generally I did well. I did as well as I could. So you have this kind of peaceful feeling at the time of death.
다시글라고 팔로망보 데드망보 아니 미망보 녀그러스 제나 아니 심바지요 말다.
But then there's the people who don't really do it. No, this is the people who just harm others and just chase after money and possessions and don't really think about any bit like just selfish, right? Then those people not so happy at the time.
다 아니 잘라라 호딩지요 말다. 착바치 잘라 다 미다 잘라라 가보시브체데나 셈나 디클로마도마데 아니 디강에 되거와 남다지라.
And they're not able to let go, right? They're not able to let go. So this, if you're not able to let go, this creates a lot of difficulty. Like obviously staff or people, this creates a lot of problems at the time of death.
다 네 삼다는 알아서 당모 가르쳐 보래라. 다디 나저 다디 가르쳐 보래라. 다 된데 단다 저나서 된데 자 심탐을 곰잡셔도다 단다 내잡디 요마르와 고갑디 요마르와 가르쳐 보래라나. 다 단다 가르쳐 보래라위나. 다 오네게 수수로와다 즉 밀레가 치디위나레 아니 도아지 가리네 즉 밀레야 미마지오 마세오셰로 아니 지 잘라라 착심 전부 마셔보세 되바 전부 마셔보세 개시시 수부대고 야고스 아니 쌈바디 기부스 신다 때 유나 되고 매네 되고 됐어야다 저 개시시 수부디 되고체 수부디 되고체 쌈바디 기부직서 아니 중나 밀레 펜도체로 펜도체 펜마도나 밀라 동에 태워 마서로 동에 태웠어나 다디 다 메시지에다 당한서 tradi지에 대학 셔 당한서.
So, it's good to, like work and try and develop our minds in this life so that, our minds are content. We're not full of a lot of worry or concern, not a lot of attachment, and we basically have kind of a happy mind. That if you have something, it's okay. If you don't have something, okay. That if you benefit, you try and benefit others. And if you can't benefit others, at least not harm others. So if you have this kind of way of thinking, the way of being, then this is very helpful.
다 되네 공부 당보 되면서 공부 당보 내자고 그러더라. 되네요. 네 촉식 냠내시. 려바충 촉식이 돼.
We need to meditate in this way. And and develop this contentment because it's extremely beneficial.
다 될라 아니 대 연구면도 나나? 네 연구면도 나나 아니 미다 건 아다 다 미다거래 시오래 가 시오래로 시드는 정말 제야면도 나 된데 레서 내 상마 담아다가 람산 조도로 다 신이 시오래 다 대지 튼들인가라 시왕감다세 망보 고야면도로 다 되기도 세 람산 레용으로 고 상노 딜레용으로.
So, we got to realize that when we die, we can't bring anything with us. We can't take anything with us. So we need to have this more contented mind that, it's okay if you have something, if you don't have something, if something doesn't go the way you want, like you lose something like that, not to be all caught up in that, right? Be more kind of relaxed with it because, this will help a lot at the time of death.
다드네 니 먼저 상상이야 그 배튼데 상당 단다데 칙지도 하데 좀 된데 손절데 주고 구바들
Dinidi karma rubber.
어디요
So
주고
now we're
구바들다
going to be looking at page 9 on this text.
다데 배기도 이제 미다고 되면 지난데 미다벌레 고쳐고래 동반이 덴바메 벨레 고 까딩은서 미다벌라 코나디고래 미다벌라.
So these are all examples, right? Now, some of these examples can be also used as examples of emptiness, but we're going to be focusing on the impermanence aspect at this time.
다들 karma식도 하대. karma세로. 남게 karma여라. karma디 스나곤라 통고도 니메곤 통면도.
Right.
봐. 이나다 karma다 여러고 이나 주어도고 여러. 대당 안저 통해야지 주어도고 여러. 그 이나데 여와다 매베게지다 말고 스나곤라 통해 여와체 니메곤라 통해 매베 차지 단다. 간다 통단데 주어시 도도.
So when we take a star, we can see it at night, right? But during the day, obviously, we can't see it. In a sense, you can say it's still there, but that's difficult to posit, right? Like you can't, whether it exists or not is difficult to say. But definitely, you can see it only at night, and you can't see it during the day.
뒤쪽 말에 먼저 메제데랑 먼저 통과래. 아니 시사스나나 까마토에 니메고는 까마토에 매운나 신근데 메제데 매우차려 딜 건너 딱다 되기도
We could imagine that like our life is like during the day, right? And we can see and experience all these things, but then when we die, that's like nighttime. All of that's gone, right? Everything you see.
맞아, opposite.
Opposite. Sorry. Yeah, of course. What we see, we can imagine human life is like seeing the stars at night, but then when we die, then it's like the day, and that's all gone. Everything we've seen, everything is like
먼저 통하면도.
Yeah, we can't see it anymore. All of the stuff we see.
말한저 저런저 만차 grandparents day 말에 만차로. 저런저 grandparent day는 저런저 라기리. 나이는 데 grandparents는 나라 파다마다 돼요 말어. 대 통화 요것도 매우 차더라. 라.
총사선 그런 거.
총사를. 밤 총사를. 밤에 질러니던 계획을 총사를.
So, if you have your grandparents are still alive, you're very fortunate, right? For Geshe, his grandparents are dead, and also his parents are dead, so no chance to see either his grandparents or his
parents. 통화 요거도 매우 차더다.
Yeah.
통화 요 매우. 다들 니마지 나란데 나래 매우 차로.
And then one day I'm going to die, and that will be it. You won't see me anymore.
어디래다. 네 배도서 내려오고 그 단다 요바다 요 매베 배를 자식으로 감마서로 따다 레기도 하면서 메시지 레기도 하다 배디가 내려.
So the message is that what you have or see now, whether is one day is not going to exist. This is the message. This is like this impermanence message.
Tadene rabri marme thangs kama rabri marme thangs tapeje marme de la jana shendemiro. Ane marme de tarwa ko juje mangbo jele tene choyong gore ane marme de ane ya jigdo da marme shiwa charu marme mewa cha marme sewa cha marme sewa mewa charu da gyode ran shi re da arwa.
So then a flame of lamp, and that's pretty obvious. Like the flame goes, is there, and then it splutters and it dies. So flame's there, and then it's gone, right? That's pretty straightforward.
Well, the di shumado zo pa na tingsan lo ina da le da switch on switch off switch on be jo da.
So normally like previously you had to light the button lamp and all that. Now we just got electric ones. We switch on, switch off, so you can do quick impermanence.
Switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, switch off.
Impermanence.
Me kashi in the lauda. Some people, I met some people like that. They said, "Oh, life is similar. Switch off, switch on, very easy, But very funny, this person I met in Gordon Bay, Shambhala's place, John Place, and he said, beginning I met him. He said, "Oh, life is, he said, oh, life is so." Beginning, he said, very, and I taught in Impermanence. And John requested me. And I mentioned morning 6 people and evening only 2 people, John and another. And this person said, I no need preparation that I'm so already there. Life is very easy, like that. Switch up, switch on, switch up, switch on. He talking very easy. And I thought, talking is easy. In real death coming not easy, It's not easy. He said, Geshe, you're too much thinking. You're too much thinking. He said, okay. For me, very important. Thinking is very important. And we had a little bit of conversation. After 1 year, and John said, "Oh, Geshe, you need to talk with this person. He wants suicide. He operate now. He operate. After that, he has some feeling, And say we have again conversation. He said he completely changed before 1 year before. He said very easy, switch off, switch on, switch off, switch on like that. And he thinking now he want to try to do that. He said, and then thinking carefully, and he said, "Oh, looks dark. Where is I go? I don't know, And I don't want to like in the bed so long, pain, because nobody look after me. That he's upright." Therefore, better to maybe go to Switzerland, like that, he said.
to euthanize himself. So call Natsa Yurado.
Natsa Yomar.
Didn't encourage you.
No. Don't hesitate. He's worried. He thinking now. He's worried.
Oh, so
he don't have sick. He don't have problem. Nothing. He has good money.
Okay,
everything.
So it's not euthanizing.
He don't want to die. He don't want to die in the so long sick. This reason, some people thinking very funny, And I met one person here, Christian Puss. And he said, I met lots of Puss go to the see people. There's some give prayer, isn't it? Christian Puss. Puss, right?
Yeah, last rides. It's called.
And he's so busy everywhere. He said he's so busy this area. And he said, yeah, I met lots of people. They said, I'm not afraid dead. Nearly dead, those people more afraid. Me, Shial Shigamindo, Siniduzo, Shigalo Duzu.
People are like all cool about death. I'm not worried about death. When it actually comes, they're the ones who are the most scared. Alright, so for this we need to prepare.
Thinking. Samlo tamazang pendoyore. Except chigro. Kashi except chimadum gangayorda. Tashia thing ashindo mindura. Dig gangitero. Tako reality reko except cheshana. Shinishigre, Kemindura, Samatan. Desiringa, Maraya, which is digging. Oh, did it?
So we need to accept this, it's the reality of our situation. We need to accept this and we need to be kind of like ready, that this is going to happen and be ready.
Sometimes, you're very difficult to thinking next life, very difficult, Very difficult. But you can try to similar like that. Today is this life, Tomorrow is your new life. Tonight go to sleeping your similar part, That's just three yagu chena, the Tony Jibukudo, Sunny Judoa.
Right.
The Tandang as a yagu chena, Mezijema, the Yagu Yungur, what did it?
So yeah, if we think about it, like tonight I'll go to sleep. Didn't he cure Gemma?
Mare. Today you do best good things,
God.
lots helping people, more kindness, and makes yourself making happy, or makes your other people making happy. Then before sleeping, you're less worried, less thoughts. You have very good sleeping, Then tomorrow you wake up. Today you had this today's happy life. Tomorrow, Sometimes the one happy month live maybe 1 month, 3 days, 1 week. You have experienced something make some happy people. This sometimes little bit longer live. You have experience. Exactly. Next life like that. You can do this life good person, good heart, happy people. Your next life you have good. Right? Did it? The Tarare, the Chema 다른 뭐 말해 나가나 요래 튀다가라
So
요래
yeah, our next life is not far away. It's right here.
Beating out, no beating in. Finish. Beating out, not beating in. Finish. Very easy, very simple, very simple. Not really hard to understand, but you think carefully like that. 맞아. 사실 시와디 뭘 생각하고 싶어도 빼려라 그래. 욱 파당 추다마도 나 잘다 있잖아. 다그란 타죠 잘해.
So yeah, I mean, death is as simple as breathing out and not breathing in again, and then that's it. You're finished if that happens.
멤버 다그다 될. 멤버 될 다그다. 될 그저 맞아 나 잘다.
So they're like doctors always check your pulse here, That's like kind of cooked up injection.
그저 맞아 나 no moving and then dead
movement. Okay. So yeah, if that's not moving, there's no pulse, then that's it. You're dead.
제가 또 저저 말하면서 내려와다 다 약속이 그런 란신 그 강에 란신 나자다 아니 근데 매매톤에 정보이나 아니 그배 흘러지 따지게 되는 거로 다 나자다한테 요나다 강에로 와라 나자 가제 나자 숙정보 된데 요나 뭐네다 강에 쉬어지러 와라
So if we have this death process isn't necessary, this big. If we're not going through a critical sickness, then it doesn't have to be this big traumatic ordeal. Of course, if you're going through a lot of sickness and pain, that can be different.
다 제가 된다 이제 말매체 주마세야 들어 주말라야 돼 당엄마 베닝 버봐 만터체 nga jamne 제든들 nga jam나 미미글 nga 제 제를 nga jam나 먼저 베는 제든지 족바든데 따당 랑부첸다 든데 통고를
So this illusion is like very old school thing, there's this histories of people who through like mantras and that kind of thing were able to actually create images of elephants and oxes and so forth.
Similar,
like a actual illusion.
Magic, similar.
Yeah, magic. Like a proper illusion.
I saw they in India they have this magic, circle. Yeah. And one he making 10 or 15 people coming, and then he closed the door and he do some maybe mantra, and then he show. In a small tent, 10 people live there, and he showed the big elephant. We saw looks like an elephant. There was a big tree, yeah.
So it really appeared like an elephant was there.
That the movie actually, things movie.
Yeah, like this illusion or this mistaken perception of the eyes. These days we could use a modern analogy like a movie. Right?
Yeah, did you must say the movie
So this illusion is just like a movie.
That the tando ma things are movie
Actually, our life is just kind of like a movie, really.
Right. Jinji minji 탁보던데 지금 제가도 말하자 매서거나 배 무비 나시래다 거르잡제.
Yeah. So this human life is just like a movie, right? You know, that's the reality. Our human experience is all
네,
just
this samla 야고다나
Mm.
말하자 디 미디 야고면서 스스 심기 디 선조지다. 말하자 미래에게 디 점블링을 여러 점블링. 딩에 점블링 나를 찬조들.
No, okay. So, what do we say in English? Everybody lives in their own world, something
Yeah,
like that,
ditto.
right? Like each person has their own reality, something like that. And so, you know, this is your little movie, and everybody else has got their own.
그래야 세상. 가서 무비도 통한데도 그런 미실은 원에나시 삼바다 마자네 메시지 차바당 지기도 나란제 스스스 낭절라 디닝제부터 디닝제부 민도 디 야고도 디 야고민도 거르거데라 디 다가나 스스 뭘 해야 돼.
So, you know, in a movie, we have all sorts of things going on, like, you know, people talking to each other, moving around, it's raining, it's sunny, all that. Yeah, but just like our life, we have all this stuff going on, and we think, oh, this is important, this is not, and this is good, and this is bad, and we kind of cycle around in that.
First I saw movie. First when I was young, maybe I was 8 or 9. Maybe that's I saw this in movie 들어가서 레지컬 때 가서 black and white, you know, the on the film, you know, film, white and black. First saw one Chinese old movie, and they're a little bit teaching Gaja regulation, you know, movie about, and then I remember today, and there old lady followed down in the river, and nobody don't care because this very rich family, and they don't like this person, and then my mom all the time, what happened this lady? Oh, what happened in this day? You know, maybe all the time talking my mother. Oh, mother, this yesterday, this night. What is it in the river? There one woman falling down. Who's taking? I'm talking all the time like that. Mother said, "This is gone. This is a movie." I still don't believe. I think this is truth. You know. 예전에 문에를 이제 가두이나 심나라디 코르디기도 하고 문에를 따디 같이 디 심에로 디 카르딘 수야 때문에 상놈하고 타요. Cause I think I try English, you know. Okay. You know, I'm thinking, oh, who's having this, or this ladies, or maybe this, or she's dead or alive, or who's having, or I'm all the time my mind coming this, and I think lots of worry, you know, something thinking this, and I for my mind looks this true, you know, true, but exactly similar our life like that, you know. This funny story, you know, funny to my uncle. He's you know he lived in the countryside, and he went in Lhasa. Lhasa is a big city, and he went to Lhasa, and he saw this film, you know, and then the film they has, you know, they were watching the beautiful and lots of house, people alive. Suddenly, then the weather changing, then a lot of raining, then storming, then the big rain flood coming, and he ran away. You know? He thought just real this some water flow coming. He said, "Come on, don't come in." You know, he ran away. Nobody followed me. Everyone watching, and then some people said, "No, you come back." He looked back. The sun coming, flower coming. What happened? Nobody followed him. You know, he ran away. And some people said, you need to turn. You look back. You know, he looked back. There's no raining, no water. The sun, flowers. What happened? It's funny. He's past. Maybe some people you have some experience. I don't know. You're young, they show TV, those things you are so familiar, you know. That I don't have this. We don't have TV, nothing. Just I believe this is very true, you know. And one time they show one movie from Taiwan, It's mother and son's story. I think they're watching maybe more than 100. I think 100 people cry. This is very sad story. Everyone cry, very sad story, And then people, everyone cry. Ooh, funny. Can't stop crying, but too very sad movie. I think this is very famous in Taiwan. And then mother and son, they make separate, like this, a story like that. You will believe this true story. You know. Then another, you must add it. 배 타고 사면 무비를 삼다. 아니. 단도 스스 매제디 무비 나시 삼다잖아. 아니 야고 요러다. 무비 스스 거디 클로스 쳔마제 스스 라고라. 로?
So, it's very good, if you can see this life like that, like a movie, like that experience, because, then whatever you kind of decide, it's in your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's in your hands.
Most future have our hand, Most future have our hand. But this time we have lots of result. We can't dealing. Can't change no. 단당 안저 영어. 나 중앙 먹은데 성어로 봐. 섭도 소토고 말을 탄다. 이 용주르다. 마음바 스스 라바 열다. 마음바 카시. 마음바 자자 만창 안저 라바 열다.
So, of course we have to experience certain things. We can't change what we already experienced, or we can't necessarily say change what we're experiencing now. That's not always in our power to control everything in the present, but we can. The future is in our hands, basically.
다들라 먼저 약속이 주어 미다고 주어 약고 땅으로 제가 주진다 나는 뭐 디지도 디지기 주주 브로 디지기 주도나 아니 디지 연구로 왔다 디 주어 단단 되다 주어 약고 단단 되와.
So if we can understand impermanence and these things, then it can actually bring about happiness to the mind. So if we establish the causes for happiness, then we can experience happiness. So this is the best.
Okay, we stop here. Some cup of tea. Coffee, DK, flavor, single shot. Another money. Okay, we stop here. Bejenjoje mendo dan rerali shi ninde jemba di sanje shingde migde ewaye dogo namda shingla chupara shu. Mandela gamni atayamis. Gyawadi nyena no lamazan je duje je doje jamalu wandi zalago jo chenju zanjo ramboje maje bana je jawa nyamba me. Kone kone be wara sho chanse wadan je shawadan je de rangu je zo yi gyawaji de na yi je zo. Tamje zo be chenju chenpo nga kane rebe goye chinga de pena de wa mane jo yende je le sewan de je zo yi shebe se de ba. Tenjuro jis.